There we go.
Uh-oh.
You're one of like the most on-time early guests that I've had in the history of the show. So,
I try.
which is good because you're only about 2 years late. So,
I mean, I felt like it was fair since you've been asking for 2 years.
but turnabout fair play in that my one story that I have of you from high school is
Oh God, you have one?
just complete. Yeah, I've told you that. Like just complete disrespect of uh first last week of school. We are in line for graduation. Do you actually remember this?
When you told me I vaguely was like, oh yeah, I remember people saying like, oh hi. Like, who are you?
Oh. So
Yeah.
for people that haven't heard me tell this story, but I've told it with a previous guest and we've talked about it just briefly. But last week of school, of course, CODA. I turn around, you're like four people behind me, probably four lockers next to me my entire high school career. And I turn to you and I say, and I go, and I look at you and you're just standing and I go, who are you? You're like, I'm Lauren Davis, Brad. And I'm like, you go to the school? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, the whole time you've been going to this school? It's the
No,
last week of school.
not
And
the whole time.
so when did you actually come to Wissahickon then? This is all news to me then. I won't feel as bad. Help me out.
I know, like, hi, nice to meet you. Really is like on par with the name of your podcast because we were not friends in high
We
school.
weren't friends.
No. So I moved to Bluebell right in the middle of 10th grade.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
But so my story is kind of weird because I grew up in Phoenixville,
Oh, okay. Not too far.
not too far. Yeah. We oh gosh, my dad was always like trying to climb the corporate ladder, that whole spiel. And we moved, so I grew up in Phoenixville. We then moved to Kentucky in the middle of seventh grade. Talk about a
Whoa.
culture shock. Yeah. So then seventh grade to the middle of 10th grade, I was in Kentucky. And then he worked at a bank. That bank got bought. So he lost his job and he was like, we're going back to Philly. And
Wow.
I distinctly remember my parents sitting us down and saying, like, do you want to go back to Phoenixville or do you want to start somewhere new? And my best friend growing up, like, you're a kid. And at that age, she had moved on, made all these new friends, joined the band. And so I very much was like, I'm not going to fit in to my old
Mm.
group, but let's just start somewhere new. So we went to Wissahickon.
Were you keeping in contact with that? You were keeping in contact with that friend while you were in Kentucky?
No, well, a little bit. So when I moved in seventh grade, probably, oh gosh, it was crazy actually. I can remember friends sending me tapes of Y100
Yeah.
mail to to my address in Kentucky. Like, please don't listen to country music. Like, you have to stay cool. You have to listen to rock. Like, you have to still listen to like Green Day. Like, you're moving to the South. Like, so they would send me cassette tapes of recordings of Y100, which I loved. But after like a year, lost touch with those friends. So
Mm.
no, yeah, we reconnected after college. Ironically, she found me on
Get
Facebook.
out. So, what is
Yeah.
the school district? What is the school district in Phoenixville?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, you don't even know what the school district was?
How?
Like what middle school you were in?
Um, all right, you're really gonna, my memory is so bad. So
I'll give you a. I'll do a
I went
quick.
to Barkley Elementary and then I went to, what was my middle school? I guess it was Phoenixville area middle school. Yeah, because it's right next to the high school.
Yeah, Phoenix area school district. Phoenixville area school district. Yeah, so it's very
It's blonde
creative.
for I should have known that.
So wow. So what? I mean, that is the age. Some people have talked about coming to Wissahickon. Like kind of like that early teen time. I can only imagine what the difference is. Um,
It
right?
was
Like
rough.
going to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big jump, right?
Kentucky was a culture shock. I remember the first day of school walking in, and immediately there was a kid, real skinny kid, big old belt buckle, cowboy hat, like legitimate, like country kid. And I was just like, where the hell am I? And
Mm,
how am I like, I just moved here from outside of Philadelphia. Like, there was no diversity whatsoever. They prayed in front of the American flag every morning. And this was a public school.
hmm.
So I'm just walking into Kentucky like, nope, this is
Wow.
not going to be good for me. But I ended up loving it. Made some really great friends there. Still
Really?
talk to them. Yeah. Yeah.
What helped bring you along there to where you end up loving it?
One of my neighbors was also, I think she moved after me. I think I'll have to ask her if she remembers. So one of my neighbors also was brand new to the school. So we instantly clicked because of that. And it also helped that she was a cheerleader. So
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 like
I
that
kind of like,
popularity.
yeah, was built in for her. And then I just kind of tagged along.
Prior to leaving for Kentucky, what was the vibe? What were you into? What kind of a kid were you? What kind of kid were you growing up, like in Phoenixville?
I was such a nerd. At least I think I was a nerd. Always nose in a book, big reader. I wanted to be a journalist. Like I remember trying to start a neighborhood newspaper. Um, really into that kind of stuff. Just always like studying and like good grades. Never did any sports. Um, Played piano, so just kind of awkward nerd.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna see my pets. I've got the dog on one side and the cat's about to come up on the other side.
Well, I'll tell you. So, I obviously follow you on Instagram, so I get a good dose of seeing you with the pets. Uh,
Yeah.
my girlfriend is huge into Cavaliers,
Oh, so she
so
would like my dogs.
yeah. So actually, this morning we did about an 8 minute. Almost embarrassed to admit it, but I'll admit it. We did about an 8 minute watch through your fur Instagram story highlight,
Yeah, here,
so she could see all your Cavalier photos.
here.
How long have you
Yes.
had? How long have you had these?
The cat is gonna be 14. The cat's a funny story. The cat was a gift.
Of course, that's how we all get our
Yeah,
cats.
I know. I was like 22, living on my own for the first time, and my dad was like, "You're not home enough to have a dog." So he surprised me for my birthday with a cat. I had never been around cats, so I'm like, "What do I do with it? Like,
Yeah.
do I need to train it?" I had no idea. So she's almost 14, and then the dog is 9.
So then you get to middle school. Is it seventh grade middle school there, or does it start in sixth? What's the? I know some different schools are off as far as what's middle school and what's high school for them.
Kentucky was seventh
Seventh
and
grade.
eighth.
So what's that
Yeah.
vibe like? One, it's for me. I've talked often about how hard it was with our middle school, being that we had pods, and I felt like every year you were starting over as far as like friend group. You were literally starting over. You meet this friend who's a cheerleader. How long does that take? What's the vibe? Are there obviously the cheerleader I mentioned, like, it's the cool kid, right? So is that
Yeah.
vibe still prevalent in Kentucky?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Kentucky was pretty clicky. But they're also like really about community. So it's big into the football games, that whole thing. So once you kind of got into a group, like it was pretty quick for me. I know my brother was a little different. My brother's shy. He's a year
Mm,
older. Um, so it was easier for me just I think because of I'm a little more outgoing than he was, but
sure.
Kentucky, it ended up being a cool experience.
That's interesting. So then it's 10th grade that you're coming back, so you're like 15, 16.
Yeah.
When the choice is laid out, do we want to do Phoenixville or do we want to do another school? Was it specifically Wissahickon, or was it we're going to take our pick? Did your parents find it based off of where the next job was?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember where my dad's office actually was. I want to say he was in the Oaks area. So it was pretty open to like he was willing to commute, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I think they really based it off of that Wissahickon was one of the better schools in the area. So I don't think I had much say in that
Hmm.
part of it. Um, and Wissahickon was tough. It was definitely tough. Like even today, I was trying to think back at who did I even hang out with? I know I didn't go to a single party. I did not go to a single football game. Like, but I ate lunch every day. Like I remember having lunch with Cody and Pat Novak and kind of their group.
Hmm.
Um, Sarah Foster kind of took me under her wing a little bit
Oh
in
yeah.
classes. Yep. Um, but otherwise, I really trying to come up with memories. I don't know if it's because I was the new person, but yeah, Wissahickon was tough.
Do you consider, some people have said before that when they move, they kind of look at maybe another place as their home. Did you look at Wissahickon as, or Bluebell or anything as like a home, or was Kentucky, Phoenixville, that kind of like a mishmash of home, and this was, we're just figuring this out for the next 2.5 years?
So to this day, if someone asks me where I'm from, I say Phoenixville.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess because my younger years was there. But to this day, I say Phoenixville. And then I'm like, oh no, wait, we did live in we did live in Bluebell.
Was
But at the time, it wasn't like Bluebell wasn't supposed to be just like a 3-year stay. Um, my parents fully expected to stay there long term. They ended up getting a divorce my senior year, so that was a whole nother mess.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy few years.
Did Was there a culture shock coming back to the suburbs from Kentucky where you had gotten maybe used to, I don't know, cow tipping, I don't know what you do in Kentucky. They don't have cows, right? That feels like a Texas thing.
No, actually, there were cows literally next to my neighborhood.
All right, so original question still stands. Cow
Yeah,
tipping.
so we used to joke about that at the school bus. We used to be like, should we go over and tip over a cow? But we never did. It's actually quite mean. Um, Kentucky is really slow. I used to joke with my parents about if we were ever in a car accident that I would die before the ambulance would ever get to me.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's a really slow lifestyle. So I enjoyed coming back to Pennsylvania. Just I was used to the hustle and bustle. You know, I always walk fast, I talk fast, like all of that. So it felt like coming home. It
Hmm.
just was all new people. So
Yeah.
not really a culture shock as much as just the community shock, I guess is how I would phrase it.
Being that you had a friend that was a cheerleader, but you didn't do any sports, did you ever think about getting involved in extracurricular there in Kentucky or even coming into Wissahickon?
I did. I had a brief moment where I was trying out for the dance team because they had dance team down there. And right before we moved back to PA, I got put on as an alternative.
Okay.
So literally right when we were about to move, I was like, no, I lost my shot. But it's fine. I'm over it.
And then no dance team here in Wissahickon. So I guess what, yeah, was it like a, and you were like kind of trying to think of who were the people that maybe pulled you in or where the places that you were. Was it very much like a, I guess, I mean, it was definitely starting over, but was it just kind of like you take what you can get as far as like a social interaction?
Yeah, and I think because the stuff with my family started happening, gosh, the summer before senior year.
Mm.
And I was working too outside of school. So I think between all the family stuff and like working, like extracurricular was just not even on my radar. I do look back and wish that I had been more social and gone to a party. Like, come on.
Did you have friends that were, I mean, you know, you said you stayed to yourself a lot, read a lot. Did you have friends that did party? I would always look out and be like, oh, you'd hear, right? School wasn't that big, so you'd hear over the weekend, this person did this,
Yeah.
this person, you know, got drunk and did this. These people were making out in this basement, and I never was invited. Were you ever invited and just stayed away? Did it ever? Because, you know, I talked to like Pat and some others and Ryan, and like, you know, they've had, you know, they would have instances where like they were hanging out, drinking. Everyone had their own
Yeah.
version of partying, except for me. Mine was
Right.
Buffalo Wings and Sixers, but
Like Sixers hat.
yeah, thank you. Just got done partying.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, did you was that even in your world to where you know, like flat out, oh, I missed it this weekend?
No, not even on my radar. I remember one time, and I'm gonna forget his name. Tom, he's been on your podcast.
Beal.
Yes, he asked me out, and I remember telling my parents, and I was like, oh my God, but I think he might smoke weed. Like, I think he's with friends that might smoke weed. Like, what do I do? 'Cause I was such a little like goody two shoes. And I remember my dad at the time was like, it's okay, you can smoke weed.
Wow.
And my mom, like, because they were separated, my mom like flipped out. She was just like, oh my God, your dad's insane. Like, I'm telling the lawyer. But I never went out with Tom. So yeah, my one and only social opportunity was that, and nothing happened.
What did you watch like as a kid? For me, you know, all of my expectations of I should be doing this came off of like TV shows, right? 90210, Beverly Hills 90210. So I was like super aware of that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you too?
Oh, I got banned from watching 90210.
It's too hot.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what episode it was. I think it might have been, you'll probably know this because
Of
you're such a
course.
fan.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like a pool scene with Kelly and Dylan?
Oh, that's the hottest.
Yeah.
That's the hottest scene.
Yeah, so my mom caught me watching that, and then of course she was like, it's too racy, so she banned me from it. So instead I would just go every week to a friend's house and watch it with like her and her mom. Like, no big deal. Yeah, my mom banned me for like stupid. I got banned from listening to Y100 because I was singing along to Alanis Morissette, You Gotta Know.
Yeah, going
I
down
had
in the
no
theater.
idea. Yeah, I had no idea what all that meant, but I was singing along to it. So I got banned from Y100, which again, my friends would just send me cassette tapes. So
Mhm.
yeah, but I love Saved by the Bell. I was all about it. So everything in my life, I was like, no, I want to be Brenda. I want to be Kelly.
But you were Jesse.
Yeah.
You were Andrea. You were Jesse Spano.
Yeah, in reality, I was the nerd, pretty much.
That's right.
Which
They
is
have
probably
their.
why, like, I should go to therapy because it's probably why I dyed my hair blonde now that I'm like, trying to,
Oh.
like full circle. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying now in my late 30s.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
So what were you doing then? I mean, you said you were a reader, but what were you doing in general in high school for fun outside of school since you weren't doing activities? You mentioned you worked.
Yeah, nothing. I worked, stayed around the house. Yeah, it was a tough couple years, the last couple of years of high school. I worked, gosh, what was that mall? Montgomeryville?
Yeah,
Was
Montgomeryville
that the
Mall.
mall?
Yeah, on
Yeah.
309.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I worked at Walden Books.
Yes.
I'm such a book nerd. And then I worked at, which is so weird. I worked at the Children's Place, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
a kids' clothing store, because in my mind, I wanted to work somewhere that I wouldn't have to buy the clothes, or I wouldn't want to buy the clothes. So I worked at Children's Place so that I could keep my paycheck every week. So
So Forever 21 was out.
it was out. And
Walden Books was always my go-to for my grandparents' Christmas gift.
I probably sold it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
Yeah.
get like those history books of South Philly, and like they would have for every single topic there would be like a slim paperback history book on that city or that town and something.
Oh, I think they still make those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jews in South Philly, that type of stuff.
Remember that for next Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Actually, if I were to, this is gonna tilt it, but there you go.
Yes. Yes.
Like these books, right? They're all
They
like this.
still make them.
Yes.
Absolutely. They still make them.
I don't want to ruin the magic.
I'm going to have to go and see if there's Jews in North Carolina.
Yes. If anyone's watching this on YouTube, I'm clearly using this book to post up my my laptop. But
I have the same. I have a candle and then some books. Gotta do what you gotta do.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
what kind of student were you then in high school, and did it change once you moved from Kentucky, going down or?
I always did well, but I will say I took an AP class in, I think it was senior year. Oh gosh, what was her name? I can see her. She was so mean.
What subject?
It was history, US history.
McLaughlin.
Yes, she was so hard. That was the first class that I was like, wow, this kicked my ass. It was hard. I'm not naturally like able to retain a lot of information. I've got to really study and really take
Mm.
notes. So that class was my first AP and my last AP class.
Did they offer AP? I mean, yeah, you were only there for like a year, I guess, in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Did they offer AP? Or, I mean, the word about the South, right, is that education is a bit down. So are those things even possibilities for school there?
I don't even know because we moved away in 10th grade. So I don't even
You didn't get too
remember.
experienced in it. But
No, but
were you doing like enrichment or anything like that? Were there like any type of advanced class like that in middle school? Because that existed for us since elementary school, at least through Wissahickon.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't even remember that
Yeah.
being an option in Kentucky. Um, so no, I don't think it's quite the same level down there as it is up north.
Yeah. So then what like one, how did like something like that? I'm always curious because I was like I don't know, like a B-ish
Yeah.
student. I'm always curious, like, how does that come about as far as like, hey, an AP class, were you excelling in history and then it gets brought up? Like, how does that become available to you to even take that?
This is where my memory is terrible. I don't even remember. I know I always got A's.
Hmm.
I was terrible in science and math. I wasn't great in. But English, history, anything along those lines, I always got A's. So I don't know if they approached you or if you had to sign up for it. I don't even remember the process. Yeah, no idea.
But you regretted it.
Yeah.
I
And
struggled. I struggled forever, and I've asked other guests this, like, what was the studying format? Because I didn't study. We'd write the stuff, we'd write our notes, and then I would close my book and I'd never look at it again. And I couldn't play the memorization game. I had to get it during your lecture in class, or I was out. I didn't get it.
Oh, see, I'm the opposite. I would go through my notes and then I'd rewrite my notes and then I'd
Yeah.
highlight. I'm one of those like super like note takers.
Call outs
Yeah.
and repetition.
Yeah. You know what's funny? And I wish someone had this. So in AP history, we had to make an assignment of a video, and each team had like a decade that you had to do this video
Oh.
teaching everyone else about the decade. And I remember that Godey and I were on the same team. I can't remember who else was on the team, but we had the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, our video was hysterical. We tried to do a Dirty Dancing reenactment. Like, it was hysterical. I wish someone still had it because I just remember spending hours like trying to figure out what are we gonna do. I think McLaughlin came back with feedback of you guys probably could have put a little bit more actual content in this than just like Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. That was it. Yeah. Berlin Wall.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah,
But first,
it was
Dirty
fun.
Dancing was Godey
Yeah,
Patrick Swayze.
I think he was.
I could see that.
Now, granted, I can't remember who else was in the group, but Yeah.
I can see this.
I'm all about Dirty Dancing. Goofballs.
You mentioned dating, at least from like a Tom Beale perspective, and that didn't pan out. So then nothing ever happened at all during high school for you dating?
Um, so I did meet a guy in driver's ed.
Oh, driver's ed. Where'd you take it at Monco?
Oh, oh, I don't remember. I can see it, but I don't remember where it was.
Okay.
It was probably Mako. So I met this guy who he went to. Oh, my memory is so bad. He went to. It was one of the private schools.
LaSalle, GA.
Yeah, it had
LaSalle.
to be.
I'm so good at this.
Well, it helps that you're also still in the area.
Yeah.
Um, so he went to LaSalle. He was like this skinny kid. He had red hair. I think I went to the movies with him a little bit, and then we went to each other's prom junior year. I went to his, he came to mine, and then that was it.
He ghosted you?
Well, I mean, I don't remember having a conversation ending it, so yeah.
That was it. After prom, just see ya.
That was it. Yeah. So
That's
that was
funny.
the extent of my dating in high school. Nothing
Um,
senior year.
did you have crushes? Were you like hoping to get into that world, or were you studying?
If I had a crush, like, oh, was that in high school or was that in college? No, I think this was in college. No, it might have been high school. Sorry. My memory is so bad. So I do remember there was an older guy. So maybe I was a junior and he was a senior.
Okay.
And I was in a class with him. I'll have to go through the yearbook and see if I can find his name. I remember he had like the bold, floppy cut hair. And I had such a crush on him. And then he told me, because at some point I cut my hair short,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me I look like Hillary Clinton.
Was that it
And
for
it
you?
broke, that was it for me. It broke
Broke
my
your
heart.
heart?
I was like, yeah.
Wow. You
Yeah.
should have known then.
That's probably why I don't remember his name. It's
You
because he
wiped
was an
him out.
asshole.
Wow. What a
Yeah,
line. So you thought you maybe were into like writing as you got older. What were you getting into?
so I went to Nova, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big fan, of course. You know this,
I
right?
know, I'm sorry. I get a lot of shit here because Nova beat UNC, so I get a lot of shit here.
Mm,
But that's okay.
a lot of
Used to
Big
it.
East beef.
A little bit.
Mm,
So when I got to Nova, I was in their business school and I kind of started to love the marketing world.
oh.
Sales, marketing, that kind of whole aspect. So that's eventually where I went career-wise. But
But you didn't know that? Did you know that prior? Like, was there a reason you picked Villanova?
oh,
Oh.
oh, okay. So it all comes back to my parents and their craziness.
Mm,
So parents got divorced. Well, my dad left the week before senior year of high school.
wow.
So he, so I will say socially, I think that's partly why like I didn't do anything in high school. Like I was devastated.
Mm,
So there's a lot of stuff going on with family. And then when it was time to look for schools, I had always wanted to go to Duke, ironically.
that is ironic, yeah.
Yeah, somehow I ended up in North Carolina anyway. So I always wanted to go to Duke. My dad, since I was a kid, wanted me to go to Harvard, which I'm clearly not smart enough for Harvard. So when they were going through their actual divorce, it was end of senior year. So I needed to pick a school. So I was such a wreck emotionally that I knew I wanted to stay local.
Mm,
Um, and then it got even worse because I stopped talking to my dad the summer before college. So at that point, I had got accepted to Nova. wasn't going to stay on campus. So I was going to commute. But my dad actually said he would not pay for college if I wasn't talking to him. So it was just so much chaos, like running down to the bursar's office, figuring out how to get student loans, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So Nova was never like a school I was even looking at. It was literally just, it was close to home. I looked at Penn State, but I didn't love their Ambler campus, and I didn't want to, go to the main campus. So it was really kind of the only choice at the time for me. So it ended up working out. Like, it was kind of that I needed that kind of community, and Nova's, obviously
Sure.
religious background, but I'm not religious at all. But it was a good community base for me at the time because so much was happening with my family that I did kind of feel like, okay, this is a good, stable environment.
Mm.
So love Nova, huge fan now. It was never even on my radar at the time, but it ended up working out for the best.
That's so
So,
interesting. Just my parents separated the last day of seventh grade.
oh wow. Okay.
And my mom left my dad last day of seventh grade. We moved, so I started eighth grade in a new home, in a new like apartment, in the same town, same Wissahickon, Ambler, all that. But started eighth grade in a
Oh
brand new
wow.
environment from how I left seventh grade. Seventh grade was probably my worst year in all of school. Three suspensions,
Oh my gosh.
tons of detentions, fights, getting kicked out of class. All the principals knew me, all the assistant principals knew me, knew my mom, all that shit.
For a good reason.
Yeah, so clearly, like, it was affecting, and similarly, at some point in high school, I stopped having contact with my dad, and for me, that was actually when things got better because I wasn't stuck kind of in the, and I didn't know until we were
Yep.
in like 11th grade, 12th grade, and it's like, all this behavioral stuff has stopped. Possibly, yes, maturity, sure. And I still had some things and issues, but like, I wasn't, and I didn't know because it wasn't like I was like in school going, my parents are having a hard time. I'm so
Right.
mad. You're acting out on other stuff. And it wasn't until I stopped seeing my dad and that was kind of removed from my environment that a lot of these outbursts and anger stopped. And even having issues, but just my mom was such more of a stable presence for me rather than the back and forth and all that. Um, did it change you at all going into, you were dealing with this, you said like through really senior year was the kind of like
Yeah.
the full separation. Did it change your behavior at all?
Uh, yeah, I think I clung so much to my mom and my brother. It's so interesting. Like, looking back now, I've kind of peeled the onion back so much as we do as adults. And I clung so much to my mom and my brother, which turned out to be a little bit of a bad thing as I went
Mm.
through college. Especially, I think for my mom too, when my dad left before senior year, I very much acted like the scorned woman because he, had an affair. Um, but I very much acted like I was the wife
Mm.
at 17. So I was always up in their business. I was always like asking mom, what the lawyer say, what's this, what's that, like very much trying to be a part of the divorce, and I shouldn't have been. I should have just been neutral, don't know anything. Like, um, so I think behavior wise, I was trying to act like an adult before I knew what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
So looking back, I wish I had just stayed a kid because I was trying to be my mom almost.
Yeah. That's exactly like that was like the thing that I think was like messing me up was like I felt like my dad would like let me in on too much information and then I'm like going to my mom and it's like dad said this, is this true? And
Yes.
and it's like, and in reality I think my dad was playing me.
Little
right?
probably mine.
I think,
Yeah, both my parents did.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think my dad knew that I would go to my mom and bring this up to her, you know, and then she's just like, "What the fuck? Why do you know about this? Why are you, you know, why am I
Right.
having to defend my, you know, my divorce case to my son and all that?" And yeah, it was like so far above anything I should have ever been involved in.
Yeah. Yeah, it was intense. I even remember at graduation at Wissahickon because at that time I had stopped talking to my dad,
Mm.
but it was a public graduation. So like the whole graduation, I'm looking around for him
Yes.
because I was like, I don't want him to show up. I don't, like I've made my boundary. And so I just remember everybody on red alert, like, do you see him? Do you see him? So I don't even think I got a chance to enjoy graduation or enjoy those moments because I was constantly like in my parents' divorce, which
Hmm.
was so shitty.
You know, it's crazy. I never really saw my dad much after that. Maybe a couple of times in passing once the divorce happened, and when I say in passing, like driving down the street in passing type of thing. Like never like hung out with him, went over. He didn't take me anywhere. Like by the time I was like 16 or so, it was over. The exact same fears until the day he died about 4 or 5 years ago of always wondering, you know, because I would still go back to my old neighborhood of like, is he going to come down the street? You know, I live in the Italian market where I know he used to shop when I was younger. And it's like, oh my God, what if I were to run into him? And it wasn't until he passed. And even now, I still kind of once in a while when I see someone that I think looks, and I go, oh, that's not him. That's not going to happen. That same exact anxiety of, oh, I hope he doesn't show up.
I know because you want, especially at that age, like you want your boundaries. You don't realize that they're boundaries, but you want your boundaries respected. But I think I also partly a little bit wanted my dad at my graduation. Like it was just such a weird time that really senior year was so much about that
Mm.
I had nothing else.
Did you have anyone that you could um, rely on, count on, you know?
Yeah. Um, my grandmother, which was my dad's mom, ironically, really stood up for us kids. Like she stood up to the whole family and said, like, don't let this divorce ruin your relationship with the kids. Like they should be separate from it. She really stood up for us in a lot of ways. So she and I actually got closer through the divorce. She used to live in York.
Oh.
She actually just passed in December, but she used to live in New York. So I used to always drive over there to have lunch with her, take her out. And, she was that one person that I knew wouldn't say a word to anyone.
Yeah,
So I really could confide in her. Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, I know. But that was about it. It was hard because I was going through so much, but I didn't really have any friends to rely on. So
Yeah.
it was a hard couple of years.
God,
Yeah.
now I feel so much worse.
Oh,
You're like at high level anxieties during graduation, and here I am, like, who the fuck are you? You go to this school. Everyone, let's pay attention to Lauren Davis and let's all look at her and point at her. Who's the new girl?
it's okay. I probably appreciated the distraction. It's okay.
What about music? I always love talking about music and movies of the times. Why was it
Okay.
Dave Matthews Band?
I actually
Yes.
just saw I just saw Dave this summer too, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot. Like,
We're
just a Dave show is a Dave show.
we're ringing that bell every time. We're ringing the Dave Matthews bell every time someone says that their favorite act, their favorite artist was Dave Matthews. We're ringing the
Well,
bell.
I went through a short phase of Dave. Um, oh gosh. So I did hit a little bit of country when I was in Kentucky. So I was embarrassingly in the Faith Hill fan club.
Yeah, '90s country was wicked, man. Right? It was
Yeah.
super
So,
pop.
oh yeah, I loved Faith Hill. I loved Mariah Carey.
Shania,
Mariah was like, oh yeah, Shania. Um, oh
Dixie
my gosh.
Chicks.
Oh, I was all about the Dixie Chicks.
What about
Yeah.
Trisha Yearwood?
No,
Okay.
I didn't quite get into like the older school country. I
Okay.
liked the newer pop phase they went through.
All right. So you didn't go
Um,
as far as like Reba McEntire.
no, but I do remember my mom was big into Reba. Oh yeah.
What about Garth?
Uh,
Garth was king then, right? Or was he
so
too
I
old?
met Garth Brooks.
Ooh.
I met Garth Brooks when I lived in Kentucky because we lived in Bowling Green, which is about 40 minutes north of Nashville.
Mhm.
So this was before Nashville is like
Smashville.
Vegas. Yeah.
Nash
Um,
Vegas. Worst names
yeah,
ever. Worst nicknames any city could ever attract for itself.
but it's also like good advertising because it's very true.
Sure.
Um, so we went to see the play Annie, and during intermission, we turn around and Garth Brooks is sitting behind us
Wow.
with his two kids and his first wife, not Trisha, but his first wife.
Wow.
So like we talked to Garth Brooks, got his autograph, talked to him like the whole intermission.
That's so cool.
It's very
That's
cool. And
that
I regret it because that was before like
you
phones on your
appreciated it.
the cell phone cameras.
Oh, so you couldn't take a picture.
No picture.
Are you a picture taker with celebrities? Is that your style?
Yeah. Who? It depends who.
Who's your top picture taker where you had to take the picture when you met them?
I have a embarrassing photo with Jim from Jimmy Eat World.
I didn't know. Wait, I thought like these punk bands, these names were all just like made up. They were spinning a wheel. There's a real
Oh, it's the
Jim
lead.
in Jimmy Eats
Yeah,
World. Jimmy
it,
Eat World.
it's the lead singer. Yeah, Jim Adkins.
Wow. Was it just you two, or were the three of you and he was in the middle?
No,
Get it?
it was just
You get what I just
me
did
and
there?
him. Yeah. No, it was just me and him, and I was very wasted. This was like 2 years ago.
Oh, bravo. All right. Proud of you.
And I was very wasted, and they are my favorite brand ever. I will see them anywhere, every tour, and somehow I got put in front of their tour bus.
Wow. So they
Very drunk.
were when that came out, that was high school. That was like senior year. I
That's high
remember
school.
when
Yeah. Yeah. So I discovered them senior year and like been a fan since.
wow. Were they was
Yeah.
I cut you off after we were talking country, but was there besides country was there anything that like senior year was, and Dave Matthews Band, was there anything that was like your absolute favorite artist?
Dave, Jimmy, Nirvana. So I
Oh yeah.
went, oh, Bush. I was so into Gavin Rossdale. Bush, Oasis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some good.
I feel like you'd be a third eye blind girl.
I was a third eye blind
Mm-hmm.
girl a couple times as well.
Mm. Did you have any movies in high school?
In high school, well, all right, I need to figure out what age this was. I was pretty much obsessed with Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yeah, Leo.
The Leo. I was all about Leo. So
Mm.
Romeo and Juliet, Titanic. Um, I weirdly loved What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Say thank you, Gilbert. Say thank you. Everyone loved that. Everyone thought Leo was so cute there.
He was so cute, but looking back, you're like, why did I love this movie as like a 14-year-old?
It's deep. It's a
Um,
deep movie.
it's so deep, and the
Yeah.
mother like getting
Right,
out of the house,
right.
like
They burned the
died.
house down with her, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It
Yeah. What
was hardcore.
family
It was all about
vibes?
Leo. Yeah, it was all about Leo. Um, Gosh, I mean, I think I saw Titanic 8 times in the theater.
Wow.
Oh, Scream. It's all about the Scream franchise.
Scream was big. Seeing Titanic
Yeah.
8 times in the theater, that's like 24 hours of movie time.
God, I never did the math. But again, I had no life, so
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
fine.
That's all you got.
all I had to do.
Escapisms.
Yeah. Yeah. Scream, I loved Scream movies, which is ironic because today I cannot watch a scary
Horror.
movie. Yeah.
Uh,
And so,
so you're not going to see the new Scream that's coming out.
no, probably not. I mean, I guess I could handle it. Of any horror movie, those were always the latest.
Yeah, I love Scream.
Wasn't there another one a couple?
They did 4, and now this is the new one. I think they did 4, and now this.
Okay,
is
so I think I only saw 1 through 3.
Okay. Right,
Okay.
the brother. It was the brother, and then it was it was Billy's mom was 3, right? Or they're in college, I want to say, or or it was Jackie from Roseanne.
Oh, yeah.
That's 2. 3 is the half brother, right? Billy's half brother or something like
Okay.
that, I think. Or no, 3 is her half brother
Oh, Jesus.
that she never knew about. I think that's what 3 is.
I feel like I won't be seeing the next one then.
I used to watch Scream. I watched Scream like halfway through the movie when you find out that there's 2 of them, and it ruined it for me. I was so disappointed. As a kid, I used to rewatch it and try and pretend I don't know already.
Oh.
And I would just be like, "Oh wow, this is so interesting." It didn't work.
No.
Did that go across? I know you said not scary movies past in modern day, but did you like go through that trend of I Know What You Did Last Summer and all those,
yeah.
all those teen
Oh
horror
yeah,
movies?
Urban Legend.
I was just going to say Urban Legend. No one ever talks about Urban Legend.
I loved that movie.
Yeah.
It was because the girl from 90210 with the curly hair.
Yeah, Rebecca
Dylan's
Gay.
wife. Yes.
Rebecca Gay.
Loved her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved her.
Antonia.
Was that her name?
In
that was her name in 90210.
Yes.
With
Marchette.
the dad.
Antonia Marchette.
Yes. The dad. That's right, because Dylan thought it was his son because it was Tony. Yeah. Yeah, now I'm going to need to rewatch 90210.
I've got a channel for you. I've got a streaming channel that plays it 24 hours a day.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime I put it on, it's just, except for like 3 hours a day, they air Melrose Place, but it's when you just take a break.
Yeah, I never got into Melrose.
It was too adult.
No.
But
Yeah.
Urban Legend, yeah, I love that. Right? We're big fans of Joshua Jackson on this podcast, so.
Yes. He had the blonde hair.
He did have the blonde, yeah. That
he had
and
the blonde hair.
That and Cruel Intentions. He had the blonde hair, I think, in that one too.
That was another one I loved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything Sarah, Michelle Gellar, that whole group.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Reese Witherspoon.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Reese. Fear.
Another movie I was obsessed with. Oh,
I'm doing the Fear thing.
Mark. Oh my God. It was so disturbing. But when you think of Bush and that song.
Oh yeah, that's the
Fear.
roller coaster, right?
The roller coaster scene.
God, which is a little like statutory rapey.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. A lot of bit.
But I mean, I don't remember how old he was in the movie, but I know he was over 18.
Yeah.
So going back to music, I was a big NSYNC fan, as everyone was. So I won a radio contest from Q102.
Yes.
Gosh, what year was that? That was my freshman year at Nova.
Okay,
And
so 01.
yeah, I won 2 tickets for a trip to the Atlantis in the Bahamas to see NSYNC do a TV special that would air on Thanksgiving.
Oh wow, what did it air on?
I think it was like CBS or NBC, something. I don't know. I have a VHS tape somewhere around here of it. But it was crazy because it was the middle of finals, so I had to like go to all my professors and ask to take the test either early or late so that I could go to the Bahamas. I had no friends, so I ended up inviting my friend from Kentucky to
Okay.
go with me. So yeah, it all worked out. We went to the Bahamas to see NSYNC.
I kind of want to know about this right now. What Thanksgiving?
You can find it because what was crazy was we were front row.
Mhm.
So you can actually see me in some of the screenshots of the TV when they pan to the audience. You can see me.
All I can find
And
is them rocking the Thanksgiving Day parade.
oh
But that's
God.
the Macy's thing, and then there's some 98 degrees stuff. I'll have to do some more research on this, and might have to go frame by frame once we find it and pull a clip.
I'll find it. I've oh here you search NSYNC Live Atlantis concert. But it was Tim McGraw was like a special guest. So
Oh
Tim McGraw
wow,
came out. Um
yeah, 50 minutes,
you,
great.
you can find I have my short hair, short brown hair.
This is great. At another point, we might have to hang out again and live watch this.
But we sat next to them at dinner, which was
Who, Tim McGraw?
insane. No, in sync.
Oh,
So because we were over 18, we were so naive. We were like, let's go to the club tonight in the bar area, whatever. But we go to get the buffet for dinner. So we're all in like our club attire,
mm.
walk in, and people are still coming in from the pool. So like here we are. It's like 8 o'clock, maybe earlier. I don't even know. But it's still sunlight out and we're ready to go clubbing. We go to the hostess and she's like, oh, I'm going to sit you girls somewhere special.
Oh,
So she walks us to the back room and there was no one back there. So we're like, oh God, it's because we're overdressed. Like we should be so embarrassed. 10 minutes later, in comes like all the bodyguards. The dancers had a table, the band had a table, and then in comes Justin Timberlake and the rest of the guys, and they sit down next to us. I like drop my fork and I'm like, I can't eat in front of Justin Timberlake.
yeah.
So it was very cool.
That was
It
prime
was very,
Justin with the curls.
it was prime Justin. He was still with Britney. It was
Oh yeah.
like, yeah, it was prime Justin.
So when you were in Villanova then and you're doing marketing, is did it feel like this was right for you?
Yes. I remember taking a class about merchandising and buying. And I remember that class being like, yep, this is what I want to do.
What does that mean, merchandising and buying?
So everything that you see in the store, basically, like how it's put together,
Okay.
picking the products, determining the price, who you sell from, everything that
Okay.
goes into this is like the merchant.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you like that aspect of it.
loved it.
What did you like? Getting to make the decisions?
Yeah, I liked being the one to get to make the decisions. You feel like you're basically shopping for a living. um, it touches all aspects
Hmm.
of the business. I liked that too. So I don't know. It was weird because there was literally one class my whole time at Nova for merchandising. But
Oh, really?
yeah, once I took it, I was like, yep, that's what I want to do.
And then when you left Nova, you stayed in the area then for a good amount of years then.
I stayed, I moved here 2009. So I stayed a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah. I I was a receptionist briefly at this real estate company, and then I got the job at QVC.
Okay.
So yeah, I stayed a couple years after college, and then once again, things with my parents got crazy. Um, so my mom and my brother moved down here, and then I was still in Philly.
Oh,
My dad was still
they went to the Carolinas first.
did, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they went first. And then eventually I followed them because after visiting a couple times, I was like, okay, I could go with this weather.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did you like were you staying because that's where family was and that was the whole point in the first place of going to Villanova, so wherever your mom is, you're gonna stick around there?
Yeah, a little bit. I definitely, it was hard, especially because at that time I'd started talking to my dad again.
Hmm.
So it's always been this whole like pick sides. Like even today, it's pick sides. And I'm like, I'm almost 40 years old. Like,
Those days are done.
so it's always been like this juggle between them. And eventually, you want to be near family, you want to try to have that foundation. So at the time, I was like, no, I think I want to be near mom. So visited a couple times, loved it, got to see the area. And then I left Q and came down here.
Did you how did you find Philly once you were out of the high school environment? Being that the high school time was kind of shitty for you, you didn't really have like friends that connect you to the area, yet you stay,
Yeah.
another 4 years after college, pretty much.
Yeah, my friends always laugh because they were like, you were basically like 7 years behind everybody else. Like after college, like I partied. I made up for the lack of partying in high school and college. I partied after college. So I made a great group of friends once I got into the workforce.
Yeah.
Um, we went out all the time downtown Philly, went to even in the burbs. So I was living in Malvern at the time to be near Q. But yeah, we all the time. So I definitely made up for it.
Just to be
I
clear,
loved
when
it.
you're saying Q, you do mean QVC, not the person.
Yes, sorry, QVC. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, yeah. She knows Q.
No, QVC.
How tall is he?
No.
QVC.
Yeah.
Um, and then what part? So did you decide to move? How was that finding a job, picking up and moving? You've now been in Philly at that point for, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Even though it's not really your home, um,
Yeah.
now you're leaving. Was it easy because your mom and your brother were already there?
Um, it was hard. I think sometimes as an adult, like your friends become your family in a way.
Yeah.
Especially that's kind of how I've been, like not married, no kids. Like my friend group is definitely family for me. So it was hard to leave that, but you always feel this pull towards your actual family. So coming down here was hard. I didn't have a job lined up. So I moved back in with my mom, which lasted like less than 6 months. Um, and I got a job at Lowe's, so
Oh
the
yeah.
hardware store. So their corporate headquarters is here. So I lucked out because I got the job at Lowe's pretty quickly. And then they're so big here that kind of the social scene naturally happened
Mm.
and settled pretty quickly. But I will say, like, Charlotte is not a big city
Mm-hmm.
by any means. Sometimes people here think that it is, and I'm like, it's not. I definitely miss the culture of Philly. I miss the different neighborhoods that, whatever vibe you're feeling, you can find.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it has its ups and downs, but I think if I didn't get the job at Lowe's when I did, I don't know that I would have stayed here
You think you would have
because
kept looking somewhere else, or do you think you would have gone back to Philly?
I might have gone back to Philly. I just because, that is the most home that I have, and especially with like my best friend and friends up there still.
Right. You mentioned not, being single, all that stuff. I haven't talked to a lot of girls. It's been a lot of guys who are
Yeah.
getting old and dusty out here, living by themselves. Um, for you as a woman, I think I saw a post that was like, you know, normalize not getting married and sharing a
Yes,
mansion with your friends.
right. I want to do that. Let's normalize that.
Yeah.
So okay, this is weird, but I did it. I started a meetup group.
Yeah.
Have you heard of meetup? Okay. So with COVID craziness, when we went into lockdown, so I was dating my ex, obviously now. So we were dating for 3 years. Then COVID happened. We broke up during COVID.
Mm.
Many people did. And then I spent the rest of 2020 like, well, shit. Like, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I'm in the house by myself all the time. Like, I'm working from home. I'm not seeing anybody. What the hell am I going to do? So I started a meetup group this time last year. So right as the vaccines were rolling out and like more and more people were willing to go back out in the world.
Mm.
So it's specifically for ladies in your 30s. So, and the only reason some people are like, are you going to check my ID? And I'm like, no, it's just a mindset. Like, we're not
Right.
going to the club.
Right.
Like, it's just a mindset. But yeah, I've made the best group of friends out of it. There's like 6 of us that it's core group, like best group of friends. We're all in our 30s, early 40s, like, but what's funny is 5 of the 6 of us are single.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, so there's so many, I think, single women that hate the dating apps
It's creepy.
that I hate it.
It's creepy AF out there.
Oh, I have stories.
Yeah. It's
I can
yeah.
tell you when if you want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to know a dating app story from a girl. I got them as a guy, but they're all disappointing.
Okay. So I went out with this guy last year, and first date went well. We got dinner, ended up being like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Second date, he invited me to a Charlotte Knights game, which is their minor league team.
Okay.
We don't have a baseball team, which sucks. So he invites me to a Charlotte Knights game. I'm like, okay, this is nice. So we ride together because we had to go uptown.
Mm-hmm.
And so we meet, and then he drives me down to the city. So when we were leaving to go home, he drives me back up to where my car is. Start making out a little. He's wanting to like move things along. And I'm like, dude, we're not in high school. Like, this is your car.
Yeah, in the car, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I'm not giving it up on the second date. Like, so I go to leave. I bend down to get my purse because it was in the floor. Lean back up and I look over and his dick's out.
That's like a straight up Seinfeld episode.
So I'm like, oh.
Oh my
God.
God.
And this is the worst part. It's hard to get worse, but this is the worst part. He goes, but kissing you is making my pee-pee feel so good.
Wow,
He called it that.
This guy's dirty talk is on another level.
He called it that.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm like, I'm gonna go.
That is a Seinfeld episode. I think the saying is that he took it out, and Jerry says he took it out. It out. Ow. He took it out. Who does that?
I know a guy.
Well, you got off lucky. There's a plethora of documentaries out there on Netflix on Tinder horror stories, and I've been watching them all. Oh, I've been watching them all. If I could recommend the Tinder Swindler for everyone out there, pretty good one about a guy who's just taking millions from women.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that he's met off of Tinder. Did you, at any point, did you ever think about like what you wanted or how life would maybe turn out for you as an adult, as far as like family, marriage, kids, anything like that? Was that ever on your?
Yeah, I always thought I would have kids. Always thought, married young. It is weird when you get to this age because I think about, oh, if one thing had been different, like if I didn't, so before I moved here, I was dating a guy in Philly, super nice guy. He had a little bit of drama with an ex.
Hmm,
So like they had shared a condo, like there was drama.
property, yeah.
Not literally, they just financially still shared it. So we ended up breaking up just for him to sort his shit out. I then decide to move down here.
Hmm.
And then of course he reaches out like after I moved. So
And
I always think back, yeah, like
he
what would
doesn't.
have
Did he
happened?
not know that you had left?
Oh.
Oh, wow.
So I always think back of like what would have happened if I had stayed in Philly? Um, or like if we stayed in Kentucky and didn't move back to Philly. Like I always just think about what would have happened in my life because in Kentucky, like you get married young.
So I've
So
so I've heard.
it's true. So I always just
You
kind
were
of
you
think
could have been
about
on
that.
the you were like prime age when you left.
I was.
When you left
I
in
was
10th
marrying
grade.
age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you left in 10th grade, they're like, God, I was going to marry her.
So yeah, I think about that a lot where I'm like, well, if one thing had been different, but
What was,
that's
for
life.
you, I felt like even up till now, I feel like up to now, I'm still like getting better. And I don't mean from a braggadocious, like I'm getting so good at it. I'm, s- I'm, imp-
Dating?
I'm improving as like a dater, as a boyfriend. Like I'm constantly having to get better. I didn't date in high school either. I didn't
Yeah.
date much in college, more of what you would expect from college. But I think for me, like I missed like having those real relationships until I was in like my mid to late 20s when I really
Yeah.
started having like true relationships. Do you feel like there's a catch up for you,
Oh
um,
yeah.
in like trying to just even like just deal like in a co-environment with people and I don't know. I don't want to call you.
Yeah.
I don't want to say selfish, but I feel like when you live by yourself and you're used to doing things for yourself, by yourself, on your own schedule, there's a little bit of selfishness that for me, I take a bit of a pause sometimes when it's like, come on, let's go. It's like, oh, right, we're doing this together. Okay, let me slow down.
No, I always say to my friends, like, if I if I'm gonna get married, like that guy has to add a lot to my life because my life's pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
I live on my own. I go out with my friends when I want. Like, you've got to add a lot of value because otherwise my life's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
But I do also feel that, yeah, I definitely had catching up to because I didn't do anything in high school or college as far as dating. So, yeah, my mid 20s very similar. Like it was, first boyfriend, first everything, first
Yeah.
how do you talk through a fight? Like
For me, and this is another thing, and I don't know, you had a similar, but like I felt like I didn't really even know what a successful relationship looked like, what a healthy relationship looked like. I probably, a lot of my behaviors mirrored my dad's or mirrored my mom's at times, and that didn't work for them. And I think I fell into that trap of like, I'm a great person, exactly who I am, it should work. Someone come and get this, and then people are like, what like, this is terrible. I can't do this. I couldn't do this for months and months, or let alone years and years. Like, and it took
right.
me many years to like shed bad habits, to learn like you said, how to work out of arguments versus like, well, that didn't work out too well, or let's move on.
Yeah.
It took me a while to real or even to like recognize that maybe like my parents' own relationship had an effect on how I act in relationships.
Yeah, I think there's still times, even today, where I have to check myself a bit because for my parents, And again, it all goes back to like how our parents screwed us up. Because my parents' marriage, I felt was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were super cute together. They were planning their retirement. They went on date nights. Like I thought their marriage was great. So when my dad left, it was just like world flipped upside down. So I think for me, especially in my 20s, I didn't trust men.
Mm,
I would put walls up really quickly if I even got the hint that something seemed off. Um, so yeah, even today I'm always like, nope, you've got to not put walls up, like let somebody in. Um, it's so weird because your parents shape so much of how you are, especially as an early adult. I don't think
very
you really
true.
start, yeah, you don't start figuring that shit out till you're in your 30s.
And you know the worst part about that, and you mentioned like how you thought what you thought your parents' relationship was until it ends. And
Yeah.
I feel like that with adults that you looked up to in general, that it takes a good bunch of years or until you're in your adulthood to realize, oh, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They were faking
They're
it.
making it up
They were
too.
they were totally faking it. They had no idea
Yeah.
what they're doing. Um So you thought that this was going to be, you were so worried that this was going to be
I
boring and you got
was.
nothing to talk about and we have just
When
cruised
you
through
asked
this
me to
thing.
do this 2 years ago, I was like, I don't even remember Wissahickon. Like, I'm gonna
Okay,
have nothing to talk about.
to be fair to you, I guess though, when I asked you to do this over 2 years ago, almost three, you were to be the very first guest on the podcast.
I know.
You were
Thank
going to
you.
be, yeah. You and it I had booked Mike Clyburn to do the show.
Yep. Yep.
And then I booked you, and we had picked like a day before Mike because you were coming to town.
I was there for work. Yeah.
And I thought, how cool is this? Like, I'm gonna knock Lauren right off on this list here, and she's coming. She's gonna be from North Carolina. Like back then, we were doing them all on person, pre-COVID, all that. So I'm thinking like, I got to see everyone in person. That's how Zoom wasn't a thing and all that. So I'm just like, oh yeah. And then I honestly, I didn't think it was ever going to happen.
And
Every
it
time
didn't
it did.
until now.
I thought I couldn't believe it. I threw out like a half-hearted beg almost, and you're like, yes, I'll do it.
I think I might have been drunk the other night when you asked me, and I'm like, sure, why not? So, so you got me on a good day. 'Cause I'm pretty
Yes.
sure I was drunk.
Ah, perfect.
Like, okay, I've
It
listened
worked.
to a couple. I can do this.
Yes. See, we made it through okay unscathed.
Oh,
Well, I say that, and then the last thing to do though
yeah.
is to look at the yearbook.
Oh God.
So
Do I
let's
have the
see.
Hillary haircut? I
Let
probably
us
have the
see.
Hillary haircut. Oh no, I have the bob. Oh, I look like a baby. My God. Lauren Michelle Davis. There I am.
I think you look the same, to be honest.
Thanks.
Yeah, the hair. I mean, the hair's longer, but I think you look pretty much the same.
Thanks.
Uh, you've got FBLA from 10 to 12. Did you
Oh, future business leaders of America.
mm-hmm. learn anything in that?
Not that I remember.
There you go.
Sounds about right.
Trojan Times. You worked on the paper because you thought you were going to be in journalism, but that you weren't here in ninth grade, were you?
No.
So they
I was
put
here in
down.
10th.
Yeah, did you do the newspaper in Kentucky?
I did.
So they must have put you probably like maybe you put down newspaper or something and they transferred that in because I've seen that with other
Oh.
students. If they had an activity in another school, they've still
Uh,
transferred into whatever Wissahickon slang
okay.
was. Um, and then you've got the National Honor Society for 12th grade. So you were
Even though
doing all right,
I did all right. Even though I
despite
hated AP history.
despite Miss McLaughlin trying to sink you.
Right.
Uh, this is pretty interesting. You've got a quote from Unknown. There are always two choices, two paths, two takes. One's easy, and its only reward is that it's easy.
I definitely went the difficult path in life.
There you go.
And it's worked out pretty well.
There you go. So yeah, like when you're talking about, you're owning a home, you're happy, you got your meetup groups, and
Yeah,
you
good
got it
friends.
going. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you got your pets. So
So I'm
you're
really happy to hear that my quote in high school did not say little
no,
asshole.
yeah, no, it's pretty. You don't know where it comes from though, do you?
No,
It's an unknown quote. All right, we'll have to Google it later.
yeah.
And then your goodbyes are Dad, I'll always love you. Mom and John, you are my world. I love you. Shell, thanks for being there.
Phil was my best friend in Kentucky that I took to the Bahamas.
Ah, okay.
Wow. Oh, I'm gonna have to send that.
Yeah. So
That's
you
her.
yeah, and like you said, no friends, so no initials.
I snort when I laugh.
It's all
Sorry.
right. It's funny.
I mean, you have to have good perspective to be laughing about having no friends.
Yeah, you know what though? Some people will have like tons of initials in there, and they only know like 10% of the initials that are
Wow.
in there. It's I think considering what you went through and knowing firsthand, especially with like parental stuff and how tough that can be, and man, you came out really fun.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a positive. That wasn't a question. That's a positive. That's an affirmative
Have a good
declarative
time.
statement. Yeah,
Heck
you're
yeah.
fun. Oh, Lauren, thank you so much. This was great. I'm so glad that we got to do this. I'm so sorry for being so rude. Graduation week,
It's okay.
I was the asshole. You were not
You
as an
probably you
yeah.
probably distracted me. You're good.
You were not as anonymous as you think, because when I tell this story to other people, people are like, "Yeah, you didn't know Lauren Davis?" And I go, "No." Everyone's just like, "Seriously?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And everyone,
Oh,
and not only that, everyone that I've told the story to, always just is like, "I can't believe you did." Like, I would be mortified. I would never talk to you
aw,
again. So, thank you for being forgiven.
you're very welcome.